Hey y'all, new day, new verses as we continue into chapter 12 of Matthew. Today, Jesus healing on the Sabbath, verses 9 through 14. Here we go. Then Jesus went over to their synagogue, where he noticed a man with a deformed hand. The Pharisees asked Jesus, "Does the law permit a person to work by healing on the Sabbath?" They were hoping to say yes so they could bring charges against him. And he answered, "If you had a sheep that fell into a well on the Sabbath, wouldn't you work to pull it out? Of course you would. And how much more valuable is a person than a sheep? Yes, the law permits a person to do good on the Sabbath." Then he said to the man, "Hold out your hand." So the man held out his hand, and it was restored just like the other. Then the Pharisees called a meeting to plot how to kill Jesus. There are a couple of things that stand out to me here. One, the fact that this is right after, the disciples are eating grain in the field. And, Jesus points out the fact that they've called an innocent person guilty and missed the point of Hosea 6:6. And then now he's going to their synagogues, these same Pharisees that were, saying his disciples were doing something wrong. He goes to their turf. And they're going, well, now we can trap him in the law. Because the law says that you're not supposed to do work. And that's an interesting interpretation of certain parts of Mosaic law, what Moshe offered. Because there definitely does seem like there are a couple Sabbaths in there where you're not supposed to do work of any kind. But they don't seem the go-to standard for the way of behaving in the Sabbath. But that's neither here nor there. The issue here is that the Pharisees had gotten to the point of belief that any type of work whatsoever was a violation of the law, a sin. There are some versions that hold to this even today, where turning on a light switch is considered work, and so they won't. Which, an interesting choice, but I think the verse here gets to an interesting idea, a greater idea. Because we see in the previous verses, like we talked about Friday, that Jesus is Lord even over the Sabbath, as he says in verse 8, "For the Son of Man is Lord even over the Sabbath." And here they're going, well, are you okay to do work? And to me, I kind of think that perhaps the idea of work here is what's screwy. Because to me, it strikes me that as work is defined as something, biblically speaking, as the betterment or for others, to create beauty, to create ease, to create something for another. That is biblical work. So it makes me wonder, if he's talking about doing good on the Sabbath, and the fact that the Son of Man is able to say what goes on the Sabbath, it does bring up the interesting theological discussion that because God rested on the seventh day, all of creation was supposed to be resting, and in living with God, doing its biblical work, was in a state of shalom rest before the fall of man and sin. Which I think is a very interesting idea. I think it is an interesting conclusion that, doing work is permitted on the Sabbath because you're not necessarily doing work, you're doing good. Rescuing the sheep from the well, from a crag, from anywhere where they could be harmed, trying to help this creature that can't help themselves. Much akin to watering your plants. They can't water themselves, you've got to. So you've got this idea here, not about doing work, because Jesus knows what the law says. He's the Word made flesh. There's a good chance he was the person who gave Moses the heads up. At least I'm curious as to that one. Whole transfiguration questions. Anyway, it's interesting to me here that he says, yes, the law permits a person to do good. And then heals the person. Because you're like, okay, well, was he going to their synagogue to make them look bad? No. Jesus doesn't care what they have to think. He knows they're out to kill him. A hater's going to hate, to use the colloquialism. So he's not there for them. He's there for this person. This man with a deformed hand. This man who's probably, depending on the hand it is, has had a very difficult life. If it's his main hand and he's using his offhand, a righty who's lost his right hand, or a lefty that's lost his left, you're kind of SOL at that point with a lot of things. And we know that he's probably here in the synagogue begging God to help him. Because none of us want to be going through the middle of the sufferings. We should be praising God because he gets us through them. It would be silly to kind of say that every person on planet Earth is like, yay, suffering! No, no. So he's probably sitting here saying, God, please, just restore me. Just help me, please. These Pharisees can't do anything. The Sadducees can't do anything. But you're the God of our ancestors, the God of Abraham, the God of Yitzhak, the God of Yaakov. You're the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. You're the God who brought us out of Egypt and through the Sea of Reeds. You're the God who stopped the Jordan River and allowed Israel to walk through. You're the God who provided manna, or man, in the wilderness all those years. You're the God who can do incredible things. So I'm coming to you believing that you can help me. And if he's in that kind of... We don't know. We know that he's at the synagogue on Shabbat, that he went to a place to worship the Lord. And here, God made flesh comes in, not really worried about the fact that the Pharisees are wanting to kill him or figuring out a way to trap him, at the very least to bring charges, because he's threatening their power, he's threatening their power structure, and more than that, he is offending them by the way he's doing it. So the Pharisees are pissed. And this man, he's just here worshiping God. And Jesus comes in and tells the man, hold out your hand. It's the only thing he says to him either in this passage. Just hold out your hand. And the man did it, and it was restored. We don't get any commentary from him. We just know that Jesus' response to the Pharisees is how much more important, how much more valuable is a person than a sheep. And it's curious that all he asks is for the man to hold out his hand. It's something that we're invited to do, just to reach out and take his hand. To reach out for him, to try and grab and hold tight to him. Just like the woman who grabbed the threads of his cloth, dealing with blood for so many years. But belief, because she knows God can, and even if he doesn't, he can. Faith like that, she was healed. Faith to reach out his hand when set, and he's healed. Faith to go dip in the river 7 times and be healed, even if it seems remarkably silly. Reference to Elisha, by the way. 1 Kings. Go read. Good fun. Here, I want to get, as we wrap up, just one kind of idea across here. Jesus wanted to be there for that person. He wanted to point out the fact that people are far more valuable than sheep. And that when we are broken and hurting, God knows it. And he walks through that pain with us. Even if we choose not to believe that he does, he's there. And he feels the pain with us. Because there is creation, and when we hurt, he hurts. Because he hurts with us. And he gives us strength. He gives us the capacity to do good. As I close out, I think that's what I want to offer up. This idea, the Lord being God even over the Sabbath. The Lord is God even over everything in our lives. In my life, and I hope yours. And with that being the case, perhaps it is time we start living in a state of shalom rest, given to us by our King, the Prince of Shalom. Show others what that peace looks like. and live in a way that shows we are more interested in doing good, the Lord's good, than we are anything else. Because His way of doing it is a far better way. One filled with hope, one filled with joy, even in the midst of sorrow. One filled with love in the face of all things. And the one where there is beauty in all seasons, because our God is greater. I will see you guys tomorrow as we continue on with verses 15 through 21. Jesus, God's chosen servant, if you want to read ahead. I'll see you guys then. May His favor be upon you. Know that you are loved, and give it a shot. When wondering about if it's right to do good or to do whatever, aim to do good, even if it looks a little weird. I'll see you guys then. Bye.